We are back at it with part 3 of our B6.2 Buggy build series. We've got some parts for our Buggy, we have changes to make, and we have some lost time to make up for, so let's just jump right into it. We came out of the gate swinging with part 1 and part 2 of our Buggy build series, where we took a box stock Team Associated B6.2 two-wheel drive Buggy, and we've been slowly making tweaks and adding parts to make the car better suited for our local carpet track conditions. In part 1, our Buggy was just a roller, brand new and fresh, and needed a lot of parts to finish it off. So we added a Maclan MMAX Pico 100 amp ESC and a Maclan Team Edition V2 17.5 motor. Then we added the Team Associated aluminum 29-tooth pinion gear for that motor and paired it with the included 72-tooth spur gear for stock Buggy racing. Then to finish off the electronics, we also added a 160T low-profile Servo, 120C 2S shorty LiPo battery, our receiver, a transponder, and lastly, a 30mm aluminum case fan. And all of those electronics were used that we removed from another two-wheel drive Buggy that we had, so we didn't buy them brand new except for that fan. So of all those electronic items, only the fan was included as a purchased item per our budget, which is $50 a video to buy whatever we want for the Buggy. But the fan wasn't the only item that we purchased. We also picked up some chassis protectors, the universal chassis protectors, which we cut out and fit to the chassis. Then we also got some double-sided tape, and we picked up white Lexan paint for our body. Lastly, in part 1, we put on these Proline Prism front tires and the Proline Pyramid rear tires, again, that we took off that other two-wheel drive Buggy, so we didn't buy them new or factor them into the budget. Now in part 2, things finally got a bit more interesting when we finally drove the car. Now with this, we wanted to give the car a shakedown, make sure there were no screws backing out or something falling apart. The build was okay. We also wanted to make sure that the kit setup for the Buggy was all right, because we followed the build from the manual exactly as the manual stated it, step by step, and it actually worked out pretty dang good. We also did a little experiment where we wanted to temp the motor temperatures with and without that brand new aluminum fan. And interestingly enough, the fan dropped motor temps 19 degrees Fahrenheit during a 5-minute run when it was 80 degrees ambient temperatures outside. For the upgrades in part 2, we added one of the most weight-saving upgrades a stock Buggy racer can add, and that was a direct spur gear mount. We chose the Flight direct spur gear mount. Then to make that compatible, we also had to pick up the Flight top shaft, which is not included with the mount, and you need it. And then to go with that direct spur mount and that top shaft, we had to pick up a new spur gear because the stock spur gear is not compatible. So we picked up the Kimbrough 48 pitch 72 tooth spur gear, which bolts right onto that mount with 3 screws. This entire upgraded assembly with that new mount, the top shaft, the spur gear, it's about 15 grams lighter than the original top shaft and slipper assembly, which is a significant amount of weight to drop out of the rotational mass inside the transmission that the motor has to spin. So it's a really excellent upgrade for stock racing. And in fact, it's only recommended for stock, not for modified at all. We also purchased a few other items, a ride height gauge and a camber gauge, just to help us set up the car a little bit better there in the end of that part 2. For part 3 of this series, we have some new parts. They're all aluminum goodies, and they all fall within our $50 budget. Now we picked these particular parts because we're driving on a really high bite carpet surface where we want to add a bit of a heavy duty and precise steering. Now all of the steering parts in the B6.2 are plastic parts, but we can make that a bit more robust with tighter tolerances and a more precise and direct steering feel by swapping them out to aluminum. So what we have here for our parts, the first thing are the aluminum steering bell cranks in the blue. These cost $15.50. Next is the Team Associated blue aluminum bell cranks. These also cost $15.50. Next, we have the ProTek aluminum servo grommets. These mount right into the ears of the servo, and then once you secure them in, secure down the servo isn't going anywhere. It really locks the servo in place once it's mounted down. And I believe these were $6.99. And then lastly, to finish off our aluminum steering upgrades for the B6.2 is the Hot Racing aluminum servo horn. And this is the 25 tooth version to match our servo. So with that, let's get these parts installed. I need a car stand. How about an empty tissue box? That'll work. The screw holding on the servo horn to the spline of the servo was a little loose. It was tight originally. We haven't driven this car that much. Let's go weigh this. Okay, that was what, 19 grams, including the 2 screws holding the Bellcranks in, and the screw holding the servo horn on is also still in there. So here's a nice close shot of those grommets in there. Okay, should we reinstall the servo? Should put the servo horn on now? No, because I need the horn for the assembly so I can weigh it. So let's do that. What are these screws to? Kind of wish I had a proper car stand. This is stupid. Oh, there's instructions in this bag with the Bellcranks. What could it possibly say? Okay. Gives us some info saying use some Loctite here, use some Loctite there. Got some shims this and shims that. I'm gonna follow that precisely as it says. The steering rack has some instructions too. It's the exact same instructions. I think it's basically the exact same assembly procedure as the stock parts. I have no washers on that ball stud on this original steering rack. So maybe I should have put washers there and I didn't during assembly. Let's grab the manual. Here's page 1. You can see the ball stud here going into that steering rack. There's no washer underneath it. Then you look at these instructions for the aluminum parts, and there's the ball stud, but it shows this washer being underneath it. Maybe the setup sheet in the back says to put washers under those ball studs, but okay, here's the kit setup, and right here, ball stud washer, 0 mils. So it's showing that there shouldn't be any washers there. So I'm gonna put a ball stud in the aluminum piece and then leave the other ball stud in the plastic piece, and let's compare them. So from what I can tell, they actually look like they're at about the same height, but the real difference is on the back side, the aluminum piece is quite a bit thinner, so you see more of the thread sticking through. But on the front side, they look like they are the same. If you guys know anything about this, or you have more information, am I missing something? Or leave me a comment down below, let me know. I'm gonna go ahead and assemble those ball studs in the steering rack without any washers. This aluminum setup for the steering is pretty dang nice. Where's the horn? And with a little bit of work, we have it finished. So that upgrade wasn't too bad at all. It's pretty easy to get inside and remove those original plastic steering parts, and then to put in the aluminum upgrades is pretty dang easy. They install just in the same fashion as the stock parts. Those washers behind the ball studs, that's kind of a mystery. So if any of you guys have more info on that, let me know. Once we turn the car on and put it on the ground, probably need to recenter the steering servo with my trims just ever so slightly, but I think the endpoints should be fine and everything else should be really good. But whew, I'm getting hot in here from this little bit of wrenching. It's getting hot in Northern California right now, and quarantine helped me become a big boy, so that doesn't help either. So next video, part 4, hopefully we're out at the track. Before I leave you guys, give this video a like, hit that subscribe button, and also leave any questions or comments down below, and thanks for watching.